Before we talk about what God's Word, the Bible says about death, allow me first to share some information about Mami Sol. Well, Mami Sol's full name is Soledad Reyes Costiniano. She was born on February 12, 1929, making her 92 years of age. She got married to Florencio Castillo Costiniano Sr. on August 21st, 1949. Mami Sol and Florencio were blessed with seven wonderful children, namely Mario, Marilu, June, Willie, Nilo, Fe, and Jesse. They were also blessed with 25 beautiful grandchildren, together with lots and lots of great grandchildren that are too many to count. About Mami Sol's spirituality, she was baptized as a witness of the true God Jehovah on November 8, 2009, when she was already 80 years old. Despite her advanced age, she enjoyed serving Jehovah as an active publisher, happily sharing the good news about God's kingdom and about God's wonderful blessings for mankind. Mami Sol clearly exemplified the truthfulness of the saying, "You are never too old to learn." Yes, in her advanced age of 80, Mami Sol was determined to learn more about Jehovah, about His kingdom, about His purpose, and about all the wonderful teachings contained in the Bible. And she succeeded and continued serving Jehovah up until her death on September 18, 2021. Truly, she is a very encouraging example of faith and dedication towards God. During Mami Sol's lifetime, she demonstrated lots and lots of very admirable and positive qualities. Her family and friends describe her as a very loving person, very caring, giving, loyal, and a self-sacrificing mother and wife. Her friends in the congregation remember her as someone who loves going out in the ministry, as someone who loves singing and listening to our kingdom songs and melodies. I personally remember her for her friendly smile, her calm, quiet, and pleasant demeanor. I also recall when we were together in a service group, we would assign Mami Sol and her daughter, Fe, to visit some homes in the territory. And I could see Mami Sol really happy and happily going door to door despite her limitations and despite her old age. Truly, she loves serving Jehovah. What are some of the things that Mami Sol's family will miss about her? Well, listen to these heartfelt expressions coming from her family and her loved ones. Nilo, one of her sons, commented, "I will miss her smiles and her laughter. I will miss her singing of old songs, her lively and her lovely voice." One of Mami Sol's granddaughter, Ashley, also commented about her. She said, "I will miss seeing her first thing in the morning. I will miss cooking and baking with her laugh and smile, her stories about the Philippines and her experiences. I will also miss her little jokes and her quips." Ashley also recalled how Mami Sol would comfort her whenever she was scared. She also remembers the time when Mami Sol would teach her various household chores. Mami Sol's daughter, named Marilu, also commented. She said, "I miss Mami Sol for everything, especially when she cooked delicious food." And then Marilu mentioned all the numerous recipes that Mami Sol used to cook for them. And as Willie, another son of Mami Sol, said, "I will miss her boneless bangus and her siopaw." Well, there are lots of beautiful comments about Mommy Sol coming from her kids, her grandkids, and her loved ones that I haven't read yet because there are too many to mention. But based on the comments that we just heard, no doubt we could see that Mommy Sol really left for us lots of wonderful memories and lots of fine examples. No doubt, all of us here, most especially the family and loved ones of Mommy Sol, feels the deep pain and sorrow caused by her death. And this is normal. Losing a loved one in death is one of the most painful experiences in life. It leaves a permanent void, a permanent scar in our heart that will never disappear, regardless of the passage of time. Every time we are reminded about our loved one who had died, we will surely feel a certain degree of sadness and loneliness deep inside. Notice what a woman from Australia named Vanessa said. I felt helpless when my older brother died unexpectedly. Months later, I would suddenly remember him and feel sick, as if a knife were stabbing me deep inside. Yes, grieving when someone dies is a perfectly normal process. Be assured that it is not a sign of weakness. It just shows how much you love or your loved one meant to you, and how much you love her, and how much you are going to miss her in the days to come. In fact, even the Bible reports about certain individuals who grieved significantly because of the death of their loved one. Let us talk about some of them. The first example that we will talk about is Abraham. Abraham loved his wife Sarah very much. And notice how Abraham reacted when Sarah died. Let us read the account in Genesis chapter 23, verse 2. Again, that's Genesis chapter 23, verse 2. It reads, So Sarah died in Kiriath-arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham began to mourn and to weep over Sarah. Another example mentioned in the Bible is Jacob. Thinking that his son Joseph had already died, Jacob grieved intensely. He even expressed that he himself wanted to die because of him losing his son. Notice the account in Genesis chapter 37, verses 34 to 35. Again, that's Genesis chapter 34, verses 34, or 37, 34 to 35. It says, With that, Jacob ripped his garments apart and put sackcloth around his waist and mourned his son for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters kept trying to comfort him, but he kept refusing to take comfort, saying, I will go down into the grave, mourning my son. And his father continued weeping for him. And lastly, even Jesus Christ, the Son of God, grieved when his close friend Lazarus died. Despite having the power to resurrect the dead and to bring Lazarus back to life, Jesus still felt the sadness and the grief of losing a loved one, most especially when he observed and saw the pain and the sorrow that Lazarus' family felt upon his death. Let us read this account in John chapter 11, verses 33 to 35. Again, that's John chapter 11, verses 33 to 35. It says, When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her weeping, he groaned within himself and became troubled. He said, Where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. In verse 35, Jesus gave way to tears. Clearly, grief is a valid emotion, most especially when someone very dear and very close to our heart dies. However, despite the grief that we all feel right now, rest assured that it is possible to overcome it. Yes, it is possible to cope with such negative feelings such as pain, sorrow, sadness, and loneliness. The question is, who can help us during the healing process? From whom could we seek comfort and hope during these sad and lonely times? Well, let us read Psalm 147:3. Again, that's Psalms 147:3. It says, He heals the brokenhearted, He binds up their wounds. Yes, Jehovah God totally understands how we feel right now, and Jehovah is always ready to provide us with the needed comfort and strength for us to cope with our feelings of loneliness and sadness. In this talk, we will answer three very important questions. What are they? The first question is, why do we die? Why do good people like Mommy Sol have to experience death? The second question that we will answer in this talk is, what is the condition of the dead? For example, does Mommy Sol know what is going on right now? And the third question is, what is the hope of the dead? In other words, will we ever see Mommy Sol again in the future? When answering these questions, we will not use any teaching that did not originate from the Bible, such as human tradition or religious dogma. Rather, we will base all the answers from God's inspired word, the Bible. So to answer the first question, why do we die? The truth is, death was not part of God's original purpose for mankind. Man was created to live forever. And to prove this, God gave man a perfect body capable of living for eternity. He also gave them everything that he will need to continue to live: food, water, air, and a beautiful paradise home. But what happened? Well, our first parents, Adam and Eve, failed to do the only condition that God required from them, and that is obedience towards God and His commandments. They ate the forbidden fruit, and they rejected God's authority, sovereignty, and His right to rule. And this disobedience to God resulted into sin, which eventually led to sickness, old age, and death. Yes, we all die, including Mommy Sol, because of this inherited sin coming from Adam and Eve. As Romans chapter 5, verse 12 clearly states, Romans chapter 5, verse 12, it says, that is why, just as through one man, sin entered into the world and death through sin. And so death is spread to all men because they had all sinned. So clearly, the answer to why do we die, it's because of the sin that we inherited from Adam and Eve. The second question that we will answer in this talk is, what is the condition of the dead? Many people believe that there's a part of us that separates from our physical body when we die. And they say that it continues to exist. They call this the immortal soul. They even claim that this immortal soul is conscious and that it could help us or harm us, and that it goes to either heaven, hell, or purgatory. But what does God say about this? Is this true? Let us examine carefully what the Bible says. Being the creator of man, Jehovah God no doubt knows about all the right answers when it comes to the condition of the dead. And so it is the course of wisdom in our part to examine what God says and not to rely on human wisdom and understanding. The first point that I would like to share about this is there is no immortal soul. The soul or kaluluwa in Tagalog dies. It is not immortal. Word for word, the Bible states this fact. Let us read Ezekiel chapter 18, verses 4 and 20. Again, that's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 18, verses 4 and the first part of verse 20. It says in verse 4, "Look, all the souls, to me they belong. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son, to me they belong. The soul who sins is the one who will die." And in the first part of verse 20, it says, "The soul who sins is the one who will die." So clearly, the soul dies. It's not immortal. But why does the soul die? It is because the soul pertains to us. Yes, we are the soul. Notice what Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 says about this. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. It reads, "And Jehovah God went on to form the man out of dust from the ground and to blow into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living person." Clearly, the combination of dust from the ground and the breath of life resulted to a living person. Actually, numerous Bible versions use the words, "and the man became a living soul." So, dust from the ground plus breath of life equals a living soul or a living person. So we are the soul. Even animals are called souls in the Bible because they're also made up of the same composition as we are. They're also made of dust and the breath of life. And since we are the soul, when we die, the soul dies also. There is no immortal soul if we base our beliefs solely from the Bible. Is the dead conscious of is the dead conscious or aware of anything? As many people say, is Mommy Soul aware about what we're doing right now? Well, to derive the answer, try to get a pile of dust from the ground. Just as an example, try to get a pile of dust from the ground and then try to talk to that pile of dust and try to touch that pile of dust. Do you think that pile of dust heard what we said? Do you think that pile of dust understood what we said? Did it feel our touch? Well, Genesis 3:19 mentions that when humans die, we all return to the dust. The scriptures specifically mention, "For dust you are, and to dust you will return." Clearly, the dead are not conscious, nor are they aware of anything at all. So for now, the dead ones cease or stop to exist, same as the time when they were not yet conceived or born into this world. To support this point, that the dead are not conscious of anything, let us read Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verses 5, 6, and 10. Again, that is Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verses 5, 6, and 10. It says in verse 5, "For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing at all, nor do they have any more reward because all memory of them is forgotten. Also their love and their hate and their jealousy have already perished, and they no longer have any share in what is done under the sun." Verse 10, it says, "Whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might, for there is no work, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave where you are going." So clearly, the dead, the condition of the dead is that they're not conscious of anything. They don't exist. And they don't know what's going on right now. So the third question that we will answer right now is, what is the hope of the dead? Well, the Bible clearly teaches about the hope of millions of people who have already died, and that hope is to be brought back or to be resurrected back to life. It is called the resurrection hope. In Tagalog, pagkabuhay muli. This hope is what Mommy Sol believed in. This is the hope that she preached to people when she goes door to door. This is the hope that she hoped for and looked forward to in the future. Yes, time will come. Jehovah God will bring back to life our loved ones, and this includes Mommy Sol. So to the family and friends and loved ones of Mommy Sol who are here, may this wonderful hope serve as your comfort. May this serve as a strength for you during this time of sadness and sorrow. Yes, Jehovah God promises a resurrection that will soon to come. Where could we read that? Well, let's look at John chapter 5, verses 28 and 29. That is written in John chapter 5, verses 28 and 29. And notice this very wonderful promise coming from Jehovah. It says, "Do not be amazed at this, for the hour is coming in which all those in the memorial tombs will hear his voice and come out. Those who did good things to a resurrection of life, and those who practice vile things to a resurrection of judgment." Yes, there will be a resurrection. What is our guarantee? Do we have a guarantee that this will come true? Notice what is mentioned in 1 Corinthians 15:22. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 22. It says, "For just as in Adam all are dying, so also in the Christ all will be made alive." Yes, Jesus Christ's own resurrection guarantees that this promise, this hope, will come true. For a few chosen ones, this resurrection will be for a heavenly life. But for the majority of mankind, this resurrection will be an earthly one. And those who will be resurrected will have the chance and opportunity to live again here on earth that will be transformed into a beautiful paradise home, a cleansed new world for eternity. The question for all of you, most especially to the family and loved ones of Mommy Sol, will you be there to welcome Mommy Sol back to life? What a wonderful prospect, don't you think so? However, while we are waiting for the time when God will resurrect the dead, each one of us here had to deal and cope with the pain brought about by the death of our loved one. The question is, how can you or how can we cope with such feelings of sadness? Well, one of our public edition of the Watchtower magazine, in the second edition from the year 2019, under the article "When a Loved One Dies," provides 5 very helpful suggestions for all of you, or for all of us. Please allow me to share those suggestions. First, allow yourself time to grieve. Not everyone grieves in the same way or for the same amount of time. Still, crying can provide an outlet for fragile emotions. Vanessa, whom we quoted earlier, mentioned, "I would just cry. I needed to release the pain." The second suggestion, to help us cope with our sadness, talk about your thoughts and your feelings. 17-year-old Jared, who lost his father, recalls, "I talk about my emotions with others. It was good just to be able to express myself." Another woman named Janice added, "Talking with others was tremendously comforting. I felt understood and I didn't feel so alone." The third suggestion given in our magazine, accept help. One doctor says, "The bereaved who allow friends and relatives to help them through the initial period of shock tend to continue to move with some ease through the different phases of grief. Let your friends know what they can do to help. They likely want to, but might not know how. And the fourth suggestion, draw closer to God. Draw closer to God. A woman named Tina says, when I suddenly lost my husband to cancer, I could no longer confide in him. So I would tell God everything. I started each day asking him to help me get through the day. God helped me in more ways than I can mention. Another woman named Tarsha, who lost her mother when she was only 22 years old, said, Bible reading was my daily source of comfort. It gave me something encouraging to think about. And finally, the fifth suggestion given by the article is visualize the resurrection. Tina, whom we quoted earlier, continued her comment. She said, initially, the resurrection hope didn't comfort me because I needed my husband and my boys needed their father. However, now, 4 years later, I cling to this hope. It's a lifeline for me. I imagine seeing him again, and it brings me such peace and joy. So by applying those five suggestions given in the article, we could cope with the sadness of losing a loved one. And we hope that this would be helpful to all of you, to the friends, family, and loved ones of Mommy Sol. The next point that we will discuss, did we benefit from attending this funeral arrangement today? Definitely, and for numerous reasons. First reason, being here reminded us about the brevity and the uncertainties of life. We realized that death could befall us anytime. Maybe we are strong and healthy today, but we do not know what will happen to us tomorrow, the other day, next week, next month, next year. We do not know. Death could come unexpectedly, unannounced, and unplanned. The question is, are you ready when it happens to you? The second benefit that we could derive from this funeral talk is being here made us examine how we are using our life right now. Let us read Psalms 90:12 and notice the question here that we could ask God. Psalms 90:12. It says, teach us how to count our days so that we may acquire a heart of wisdom. In other words, we are asking God to teach us how to use the days of our life in a way that is pleasing to Him. As Matthew 6:19-21 encourages us to do, we should store up treasures in heaven, meaning that we should do our best to improve our spirituality, to strengthen our relationship with Jehovah, and to do His will. Is this what you plan to do? The third benefit that we got from attending this discourse, this helped us to strive in making a good name in front of Jehovah, as mentioned in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verses 1-4. Happily, Mommy Sol was able to make a good name in front of Jehovah before she died. She did Jehovah's will. She did her best to follow everything that Jehovah wanted. And that itself brings comfort for all of us, doesn't it? Yes, we benefited a lot by being here in this funeral arrangement. May all of us put to heart everything that we discussed. And also, let us not forget to continue to comfort one another. Mommy Sol's family and loved ones will surely appreciate our continued support and encouragement for all of them. So as a conclusion, currently, Mommy Sol is in the safest place where a person can be. And what is that place? Yes, it is Jehovah's perfect memory. Each and every person whom Jehovah God places in His perfect memory is guaranteed the resurrection hope. In the very near future, as God, in God's appointed time, all those in the memorial tombs will hear His voice and will come out. And Mommy Sol will be there, ready to enjoy a perfect life with perfect health in God's perfect new world that is very soon to come, or that is soon to come. To all of you listening to this talk right now, to Mommy Soul's friends, kids, grandkids, and great grandkids, please strive to be there. Please do your best to do God's will and strive to develop a strong and close relationship with Jehovah God. So that when Mommy Soul comes back to life, we will all be there to welcome her back to her new home. And we will all be happy to once again see her smile, hear her laughter, listen to her stories, taste her delicious recipes, and hug her and be with her for eternity. Truly, we have a great and loving Heavenly Father, Jehovah God, who promises all these wonderful blessings and hope for mankind. And for all of this, we give him all the honor and glory forever and ever and ever. And may we all benefit from this wonderful gift from Jehovah God. Yes, the gift and hope of the resurrection. Thank you very much.
We thank you so much, Brother Torculas. It was such an encouraging talk, very practical, and especially at a time like this. So, and just wonderful. So thank you for the heartfelt talk. We really appreciate it. Now, we're going to, just so you know how this is going to go, we're going to have a comment after the song and the closing prayer by Ashley. So just bear with us for a minute. And then after that, they're going to replay the entire video that was on before the memorial for all those who might have missed a portion of it or would like to just see it again. It was so encouraging. But now let's conclude this program with song number 144, which is Keep Your Eyes on the Prize. And then we'll call on Brother Alfredo Mendoza Sr. to conclude with prayer. So now we'd like to call on Brother Mendoza Sr. for the closing prayer. That heartfelt prayer. And now, like was mentioned, we'll have a couple of comments. Sister Ashley David will take the first one, and then Brother Nestor Esplana will also give a short comment. So let's do that now. Ashley?
Kumain ka na ba? Have you already eaten? Kamusta na ang mami mo? How's your mom? These are questions that my Lola would ask me with a smile when I would go see her first thing in the morning, bringing her breakfast for the day. That smile is something I don't think anyone could ever forget, whether you were her family, her friend, or even if you just met. What's more is that no matter what her situation, she would always do what she can to bring that smile to the face of others. Through her cooking, her sweet little jokes, through presents that she knit or sewed herself, and through babysitting the little ones so that the rest of her family could catch a break. Lola always did her best for whoever was even slightly troubled. That generosity and genuine kindness is something that we've all greatly treasured and will undoubtedly miss. Her sons, daughters, grandchildren, all her family and friends surely feel the same. They reflect just how loving she was by showing how much they love her in return. I even think that the plants she grew flourished because of that authentic love, blossoming and blooming under the rays of her patient smile. And even though the house is quieter now, and even if there's no one to ask me if I've already eaten or how my mom is doing in the morning, I still think of her, and it makes me smile too. I'll think about when we used to bake together, when she would patch me up, when she would help me take care of my little sister, and when we would walk together. When I was little, I was the one holding on to her. As I grew, she became the one holding on to me. But I know that when the earth becomes a paradise again, and the entire world looks like a garden that Lola had made in our yard, she'll be waiting there with that bright smile. She'll walk again, and she won't need anyone to hold on to anymore. Thank you for everything, Lola. I'll never be able to express just how grateful I am to you. I love you, and I miss you more than I can say. We all do. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ashley. Very heartfelt. Thank you very much, Brother Esplana. We really appreciate it. I don't understand the Tagalog, but I saw the heartfelt and I could really appreciate it. And as we all did, thank you. And now we're going to replay the video that was on before the memorial. And for those who may have missed it or who want to see it again, it goes by so quick. So let's do that at this time.
with tears